Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. Today is the 1st of October, 2016, and I'm at the Watchmen's conference in Knoxville, Tennessee. And Anthony Patch spoke yesterday, and I videotaped the entire thing. Meanwhile, the event coordinators themselves live streamed the entire thing. Not only did they lose their entire live stream, only when Anthony Patch spoke, not only did it disappear, more than half of what I recorded has disappeared. No other speaker was interrupted, bothered, or anything, only Anthony. Anthony has asked me to release this and allow everyone to understand what's happening to just him, and he's going to have to re-speak again tomorrow, Sunday. So anyone that's got the live stream ticket for the Watchmen is going to get this live again. I have no affiliation with it whatsoever, except for the fact that I'm friends with Anthony. So here you go. Here's what I have, and tomorrow again they will be live streaming with the Watchmen live stream ticket.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I appreciate you coming to listen to whatever it is I'm going to be saying here today, but it's not about me. It's about the Lord. I find it almost embarrassing to be standing up here. I don't consider myself a public speaker, but this is where he's from, up on the stage, so bear with me. I hope you find it interesting and intriguing, and I hope that it leads to your own research, what I like to refer to as the rabbit holes. We're going to go through some stuff today it's not Christianity 101. It is based on Scripture. It may be a little over the head of some people in the audience, and I don't mean to be disparaging. I'm not really going to cover the basics because this is promoted as a graduate level, this conference, on all of the topics. I appreciate Coach Dave starting with 101 with the football. We're going to kind of take a leap and we're going to go fast. I don't know if I'll be able to get through all the PowerPoint slides. There's a lot of information and a lot of topics to cover. But everything's coming together. It's coalescing. We know it from research in Scripture, research in our own areas of interest, and also we sense it ourselves. Even those that don't walk with the Lord know that things are coalescing. I may come across as rather serious here, but I don't mean to be a fearmonger. I don't mean to cause fear in anyone. This should be evidence for joy. We are coming to the end of this age. We know. This is the evidence that I hope that you can present to other people as a witness. To say this is tangible, this is real, this is in front of us right now. Look at it and examine it if you're speaking to someone and say, you need to make a choice. It's very simple. I'm not as eloquent as Pastor Paul here. He's in the front row, so I get to pick on him. And guess what? The microphone works. What's your phrase for technology?
PBT, Paul Begley Technology.
Paul Begley Technology. The first thing that registered with me with Pastor Paul was that phrase, not the other. Okay, are we live? Are we going? Let's get the first slide going here. We'll get it warmed up. Alrighty, so I'm going to let you read the scriptures to yourselves. I'm just going to march through these fairly quickly, and I'll be making comments as we go. We are going to talk about CERN, and we're going to compare it to Scripture. It's not a real analytical approach. This will warm up, this will get better. But there's an awful lot of information that's associated with CERN, and consider that the hub of a great many areas in science that feed into CERN and are directly related to it. But this is not about fear-mongering. This is about hoping for joy. This is our joy. Being born again and having the Holy Spirit reside within us should give us that joy. So I'm just trying to emphasize that as we begin this, Louis. We're going to talk about CERN. We're going to talk about the hidden agenda behind it, the occult. That's what the word means, is to hide. But what's the nefarious side of this? I started with CERN when I was in the service in 1977 in West Germany. I was associated with nuclear weapons and learned about CERN just over the hill and followed it all the way through to the present time. About 5 years ago, the Lord impressed upon me that it's time to look at the dark side, because it's more than just the gee whiz factor which attracted me to the technology. But my father told me, when you begin something, you should always give thanks. And give thanks to the Lord first. And I'm giving acknowledgement and thanks to these people and a host of others, some of which are here today. Because these people fed me information, opened my eyes up, and I'm just sort of being a spokesperson for them as well. This is an open statement from CERN. This is the center point. This is what they are focusing on. Opening an interdimensional gateway, portal, to another dimension. So I'd like you for a moment to stop and think objectively. What would this world be like if it was opened up to another dimension? Certainly there are small examples of people's seances and small portals open and other things like that. But if there is what I call a freeway, a macro scale portal opened by CERN and allowing to enter into our dimension, whatever it is that's on the other side, do you think that would affect our lives? So when people say, what has CERN got to do with my life? What does physics have to do with my life? That's the example that I cite. This is one of my most favorite words. Paul, you probably heard me say this 1,000 times. The hubris of Satan or Lucifer. He's full of himself. Now, he's a defeated foe. And by the blood of Jesus Christ, by the name of Jesus Christ, he and his dominion, his demons, his minions, as I love to call them, have to flee from us. You have power. We all have power. More power than we realize, and more power than CERN. But this is what he believes. He actually thinks he's going to ascend to the throne in heaven. And my other way that I like to put it is, he actually believes he can kill God and kill God's angels. And that's what this technology represents, weapons. Besides opening the portal, he's developed kinetic energy weapons, those are particles accelerated, and energy weapons derived from the collisions. This is why I say he's full of himself. Is he victorious?
No.
Will CERN be successful in opening the portal?
Yes.
I heard someone saying yes. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And you base that upon what evidence?
Revelations.
So right in the Bible, Revelation 9. Okay, I'm going to march through these fairly quickly. I will ascend into heaven, I'll exalt my throne above the stars of God. Lines of force, which are 8.3 Tesla. The Earth is about 0.6 Tesla in its magnetic forces. You're generating 8.3 Tesla, but it's also the particles that are accelerated are creating what are called synchrotron energies, gamma rays and X-rays, that move out perpendicular or orthogonal, as it's called, from the main ring. The combination of magnetic lines of force and synchrotron energies are changing the shape of our shields. They're doing that for a reason that I'm going to get to. They're trying to penetrate from there. Now, we talked about weapons. We're about to go into something called strangelets. This is the most powerful explosive material or substance in the known universe. If you were to follow the timeline of the Big Bang, there was the singularity, then strangelets, and then the infamous Higgs boson, the so-called God particle in the timeline. These predate, this is, if there was an explosion, strangelets are what predate the God particle. This is a quark gluon condensate. That's quarks at a binding force called gluon. It is the breaking of the gluon force and separating of the quarks in this explosive material that will result in the opening of the portal. Just a diagram of strangelets. One of the three characteristics of strangelets, besides being an explosive, is the fact that they act much like the theory of a black hole. They actually pull matter towards them electromagnetically, not through gravity, but through magnetic attraction, and they grow. And they do that at the center of the Earth. The third characteristic is you cannot contain it. They're produced at CERN in the ALICE detector. Anything above 10 TeV, tera electron volts, are running at 13. Anything above 10 produces strangelets, and they go right to the core. They first discovered strangelets at Brookhaven National Laboratory with the relativistic heavy ion collider.
Right.
That was in August of 14 that they determined that. The strangelets can convert the planet to a neutron star. It collapses the star, or collapses the planet into a star where it's cold. That's the process. These are the four detectors at CERN, and they're adding the awake linear accelerator at the bottom. So the question, why are we talking about it? I've sort of illuminated you a little bit, pardon the pun.
Anthony Patch.
But they claim that 96% in mainstream science, 96% of the universe cannot be seen or measured. Black holes, dark matter, dark energy. You've heard of this. Never been measured. Never been proven. Never been reproduced in the laboratory. When they talk about black holes and dark energy and dark matter, just put it out of your mind. Again, the scientists at Thunderbolts Project, I'm not a spokesperson for them, but I adhere to their results. They laugh at this concept of dark energy and dark matter. It's pure nonsense. Again, the void of space is filled with plasma and ionized gas. In the video Symmetry that CERN put out last year, this was a ritual, just like the Gothic Tunnel video. It's a ritual. It's communicating to the other side. And it's acknowledging to those here that are privy to the information that they're ready. The title should not be Symmetry. In physics, it would be called breaking symmetry. They are breaking symmetry when they open a portal. So where does this come from? It comes from the worship of Saturn and the black cube that resides within Saturn. This is the black sun that many of you have heard of. You'll find it everywhere. The Egyptians worship, the Babylonians, the Sumerians worship the black cube. Like I said, we're going to go quickly through this. But this is what's behind CERN. This is what drives the technology and the reason for opening the portal. It's like, okay, you open a portal, you let all the demons in, so what? Why would you do that to yourself as a human? But this is the grand deception. This is where they've been deceived. Their goal is immortality and avoiding God's judgment that's about to hit the earth. And they're trying to sidestep it using technology. Kubrick was telegraphing this worship of the black sun in his movies. This is Eyes Wide Shut and Dr. Strangelove. It's all about Saturn. Sorry about that. Jumping around. We're about to go into the Thunderbolts research on the electric universe model. Again, to change the paradigm. and to show that they've been hiding the electric concept, the plasma electric model, from us for a reason. Thunderbolts began their project following Emanuel Velikovsky's discussion of how our presently known solar system came about. These are the two founders that David Talbot and I have met a couple of times. The smallest particle to the largest galactic formation, a web of electrical circuitry connects and unifies all of nature, organizing galaxies, energizing the stars, giving birth to planets, and, on our own world, controlling weather and animating biological organisms. There are no isolated islands in an electric universe, nor is there dark matter or dark energy. According to Velikovsky and Thunderbolt's project, there was an alignment: Saturn, Venus, Mars, and Earth, predating our present solar system in the position of the planets. As people on the Earth were looking heavenward, they were seeing discharges of electrical plasma, and they recorded it on their hieroglyphics, on stone carvings, on cave walls. The Egyptians represented it. Saturn was the sun. It was our original sun. Because in the theory of the golden age of Kronos being Saturn, we, Mars, and Saturn moved through the heavens, through the cosmos, as a unit together, enveloped by a plasma envelope. And then electromagnetically we're attracted by the sun, not by gravity. People on the Earth would see Saturn, Venus, and Mars above their head. And what you see here is an electrical discharge between the planets. All of the planets are electrically connected. What CERN is trying to do is to enhance the presently weak connection between Earth and Saturn. They're going to create what I call a plasma conduit. These are Birkeland currents. In electrical engineering or in physics, they're known as Birkeland currents. That's a discharge through a plasma envelope. All through history, cultures around the world simultaneously recorded the same things that they were observing in the heavens. They were plasma discharges that then became the gods. And it was the war in the heavens between the planets, between the electrical discharges in the plasma that they were seeing, and they assigned them the names of gods and demigods. This is what it looked like on Earth, with the planetary alignment and the close proximity of the planets. On the left is an experimental representation in the laboratory, reproduced and measured, of a plasma discharge. It reproduces the same images that you see on cave drawings. Those are the Birkeland currents in the green in the middle. And again, I'm going to skip through this fairly quickly. But what they reproduce in the laboratory today, in particular one project called the Sapphire Project, associated with Thunderbolts. If you look up SAFIR, the Sapphire Project is modeling the sun and proving that the sun is electrical, not because of nuclear explosions, but because of the absorption of energy from the plasma around it. That's why the sun doesn't burn out. It has an inexhaustible supply of energy coming from the plasma in the cosmos. Down in that far right corner, those are the plasma discharges that they're reproducing, that they're recording.
Damn.
So the myths, the mythology is built upon plasma physics. Different times of the day, this is how the heaven would appear. Do you see the crescent? And where else do you see the crescent? on the flags. This is in one of the pyramids in Egypt, representing what they're seeing in the heavens.
It's right there.
That is that. That's a Tesla coil. Ancient technology in the pyramids, built in the laboratory. This is the starting point of CERN, of all those daisy-chained accelerators, a Van de Graaff generator. Again, back to the thunderbolts. Today, nothing is more important to the future and credibility of science than liberation from the gravity-driven universe's prior theory. I won't go through the whole thing, but we've been programmed. And it is something that in mainstream science, the dogma that they adhere to, the paradigm that they refuse to step out of for fear of losing their funding and their careers, it perpetuates the lie. Troy McLaughlin, that's an author that I highly recommend, the myth that I described of the golden age of Kronos, of Saturn, Mars, and the Earth moving together through the heavens. Excellent Christian writer. Recommend him. All right, so we've got the black cube, we've got Saturn, and we now have the northern pole of Saturn. That's just representation of plasma discharges. Same thing happens in the heavens. Again, not a black hole. This is all electric plasma and charged particles. That is taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. That's a Birkeland current that's multiple light years in length. That's how the planets are connected. Again, Birkeland currents, very quickly I'll run through this. The right-hand side, the bottom view of a Birkeland current, also forms what's known as kind of a donut, but it's a toroidal field. CERN creates this every time there are circulating particles in the main ring. Again, we talked about changing with the shields. But that's the northern pole of Saturn. That's the hexagon. This is a synchrotron particle accelerator. This is the main ring at CERN, at the northern pole of Saturn. Call it naturally occurring, if you will. This is generating this in the core of the gaseous planet of Saturn. That's what they're trying to reconnect to electrically. We're going to shift gears into quantum computers very quickly. No, that's right. We don't have any audio for this, do we? Okay. Yes, that's okay. This is one of the two founders. This is Eric. There's another gentleman in the video named Gordy. I think we'll let this run and I'll sort of narrate it because there's some graphics I'd like you to see. But what I'm illustrating for you here pattern. They are not arranged as tetrahedrons in this black cube, but they are qubits. And they are accessing, in this particular video with the model 512, that's 512 qubits, 2 to the 500th parallel dimensions. Now I quibble, it's not parallel, but I'll describe that in a moment. They are openly, in their own public venues, they are talking about accessing parallel dimensions. Same thing as CERN. But they're using the computer to do that. I wish we could narrate some of that, but it's on the Mandela effect that a lot of people have heard about. This is Gordy Rhodes. He's openly talking about 2 to the 500th number of parallel dimensions with the 512. Google, NASA, NSA, CIA, Lockheed are all customers of D-Wave. They all have various models. These are the model number progressions, the number of qubits as they advance. A friend of mine, Nicholson, 1968, has a great channel. He goes through a lot of the science that I go through and does a great job with the graphics. But this is a representation of a qubit. They call that particular chip the Calypso, and they're advancing. Now, Gordy Rose will say that they increase the number of qubits every 12 months. Well, the actual number is every 3 months. They double the number of qubits every 3 months in this machine. So they're not giving you the full picture in their model numbers. Model numbers represent the number of qubits. So that's kind of dated information now. The latest model that they released in 2015 was the 1024, 1024 qubits. If you go back to Gordy's number of 2 to the 500th power, they're now at 2 to the 1000th power of dimensions they're accessing. Next year, they'll come out with one with 2,000 qubits, model 2048, 2048, 2 to the 2,000th power. Again, this is tied in with CERN. D-Wave is directly connected to CERN. They're opening portals already at the quantum scale with the computer. He talks about accessing parallel dimensions and reaching in and grabbing, as he says, resources. He calls them resources. They insert a combinatorial program and retrieve 110% more energy than they put in. So they're extracting energy as well as information from the other side. That is related to the Mandela effect. Mandela effect is quantum pollution of our reality. That's what's causing the Mandela effect. This quantum computer, not CERN. Okay, let's see if we can advance. I apologize if this is pretty dry stuff, but I mean, this is science. You can't get through it as a dog and pony show. It really has to be pretty deliberate in the presentation. So look at qubits, 1024, 2048, and now 4096. 4096 is a number that's not been released by D-Wave. That's my own number because I said they advance the qubits every 3 months. They double them. So you just do the simple math. Beyond 4096 is 8192. I believe that they actually have a quantum computer. Model 8192. Accessing over 2 to the 8,000th power of parallel dimensions. And I believe that 8192 is spherical. I believe that it is, use this. This is called a 600-cell tetrahedron in geometry. My model of the universe. I believe that this is the model of the computer that exists with D-Wave. This is the computer that will open the portal. You have the power at CERN, and you have the control mechanism at D-Wave. When a portal begins to open, you have to control it. Otherwise, as Dr. Stephen Hawking says, it will envelop the Earth and perhaps the universe in a vacuum bubble. So it's controlled by a computer, the Model 512, which is like a Model T now. The 512 was
Anthony.
The representation or analogy of having the equivalent processing power of over 7 billion human brains.
Or just
That was the old one.
Yes.
We can't even understand that. Each of our minds at any given moment is processing a petaflop of data. This is an artificially intelligent computer. It is also sentient. We're seeing the hints of it through the Mandela effect. We're seeing changes to our reality because of this bleed through, this grabbing of resources, as Gordy Rose, one of the founders of D-Wave, said. They are purposefully doing this to our reality. They're altering it, and they're using electricity, ionized plasma, electromagnetism. We're not using gravity. That's what was hidden from us. This computer operates at a temperature that's colder than outer space because it operates with superconducting Josephson junctions. That simply means that the material they're using has to be cold enough that the electrons will flow in the qubits without any resistance. Resistance causes what's called decoherence in computing. It leads to errors, computing errors. This is inside that black cube that I showed you. And they chose the black cube for their satanic reasons. These guys, I have no ill will against. Anybody that I'm referring to, I feel sorry for. I feel sorry for their separation from God. It's their souls that I'm worried about. But they, as people, I don't hold any ill will for. But they've been deceived at CERN and at D-Wave. But they are following the Luciferian agenda by choice. This is how the qubit is mounted. The chip is mounted in this super cold environment within an electromagnetically shielded cube. It's shielded from electromagnetic interference from the outside to maintain coherence. Okay, CERN is also connected to the Advanced Light Source Laboratory at Berkeley. And this is backtracking back up the rabbit hole of what started me on all this stuff. Because the same particle accelerator at CERN, the ring-based synchrotron, they have at Berkeley. And there are over 100 of these around the world. But I'm focusing on Berkeley for a moment. Again, the distribution of data through the Energy Sciences Network. Berkeley is the hub. Berkeley controls all the data that comes out of CERN. And all the other laboratories around the world that participate in this network. The Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, when I was a kid and when I was going to school there, it was called the RAD Lab up on the hill. That's how we talked about it, the RAD Lab on the hill. That's where Dr. Lawrence built his first synchrotron particle accelerators, the cyclotron, the bevatron. 20 minutes, as I said, down the road, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. I was involved with the warheads they were building in Livermore and sending to West Germany where I was. So my own neighbors were sending me weapons of mass destruction. And right here, I'll give you a little backstory. In June, I was in Colorado Springs doing a presentation for Prophecy in the News. It was a little different than this one. It was a lot more elementary. But that's where Tesla had his first laboratory, right down the road from where I was giving the presentation. Synchronicities are quite interesting with God, with our Savior. And here I am, right down the road from this place. I wonder if anybody in the audience is from Oak Ridge or the NSA.
Oh, Anthony Patch.
But that's okay. I talk to them on my interviews. We have fun chatting back and forth to those guys. I'm sure they get a laugh out of the things I talk about.
That's a fact.
But Berkeley is involved in DNA. This is a particle accelerator. It generates, used to be the highest luminosity hard X-ray source on the planet. Now, just over the bay at Stanford with the Stanford Linear Accelerator, the SLAC, they have now the most powerful hard X-ray. They use X-rays to look at DNA. They call it inferring, by inference. They look at our DNA. The human genome was sequenced at Berkeley with Dr. Craig Ventnor, who set up a laboratory just over the hill from Berkeley, right next door to my hometown of Lafayette. I told you, I'm right in the middle of all this stuff for some reason, right? Okay, I get the joke, right? Drop me right in. He set up in Walnut Creek the Human Genome Laboratory for sequencing DNA. So Berkeley, human genome, DNA sequencing, using particle accelerators. This is in my first book, Covert Catastrophe, a novel. My second book is called 2048 Diamonds in the Rough, and that's focused on the quantum computer that I was just showing you. That first book was published in 2013, the second one in 2014. I described the quantum computer that I just showed you in 2014. D-Wave is finally catching up with me. Doesn't make me special. I'm just passing the information on. I'm not a prophet. Okay? I'm just a guy who all of a sudden, hey, you gotta go look at CERN. Okay.
Right.
Sort of my Bill Cosby rendition of Noah. Okay, so these are beam lines. These are arms that come out with particles that are accelerated to come off the main ring in the center. The beam lines produce the X-rays that they use to look at DNA. I'll take a moment and read this, if you would, please. The original lie that you showed me is God, that you will achieve immortality. If you look at the venture capital funding in Silicon Valley, where D-Wave is, their headquarters is in British Columbia, but the computers are in Silicon Valley. All the venture capital money, Google, NSA, Lockheed Martin, it's all going to defeating death. This is all public information. They want to achieve immortality. They are throwing literally everything they can get their hands on in technology and in money to achieve immortality. Human genome sequencing. Short story on it, short version. You can take DNA and digitize it, break it down into binary code, ones and zeros, and you can transmit that binary signal through the cloud to another location and have a sequencer, it's called, at the other end that assembles that DNA using the 5 base chemicals of DNA. And you will reproduce the same biological form at a remote location, whether it's in the United States or on Mars. So picture this, you have a little spacecraft with Jeff Bezos in it, because he wants to launch a nanocraft. And in that nanocraft, he doesn't talk about it, but it's digitized DNA and the base chemicals to DNA. And you can grow your astronauts on another planet.
Awesome.
This is literal. This is laboratory-proven technology. The gold strand is third strand of DNA. This is how they will modify our DNA. Through the chemtrails, the aerosolized spraying, they have filled the atmosphere not only with aluminum and barium and strontium and dead red blood cells, but nanoparticles, nanomachines that are dormant, that will be activated by microwave. You want to talk about wind towers or geosynchronous satellites. At some point, you will make it, we as a human race will make a decision to either take the mark of the beast or not. The nanoparticles are the mark of the beast system. They will be activated if you choose to take the mark. And once those nanoparticles are already in all of our bodies, they will begin to build a third strand of DNA that will modify our DNA and change our minds. And we will lose the awareness that we've even changed. These are the 4 base chemicals of DNA. Right here. I should say 5. When you sequence DNA, you use these chemicals in a sequencer to build a biological entity. This has been done in universities all around the world in competition with each other. Does it mean they're creating life? No. They're just taking the essence of life and building their own genetic material. These are protein strands. This is what they see with the hard X-rays from the particle colliders. And when people talk about CERN, they're not talking about DNA. They're talking about Big Bang and black holes and dark matter and dark energy. That is pure nonsense. That's for the masses, for us to consume. But when you look at DNA, it forms into proteins. And this is what they're reproducing. Okay, next subject. Like I said, I'm throwing a lot at you here today. But I want to give you the benefit of being able to look at these, look at the live streaming later that's being recorded. Hopefully there'll be DVDs available. And go down the list of subjects that I've ticked off here and do your own research. Go down your own rabbit holes, and you'll see what I've been seeing. This is called a Sentient World Simulation, SWS. This is real time. This is the draft paper in 2006 out of Purdue University. They have created a mirror image of the entire planet. Every person on the planet is represented as a node and given an avatar. This is not Hollywood, this is real time. 2007, it went live. D-Wave's computer advancement of models was built for this. You want to have a virtual augmented reality, you have to have a computer to run it. This is an outgrowth of tabletop exercises and computer modeling of military operations like Jade Helm. Jade Helm was part of this sentient world simulation. It was a psychological operation for the purpose of determining how people behave, to build algorithms of human behavior, to predict human behavior. One of the benchmarks for D-Wave in building our first quantum computer was to determine what would happen in the stock markets and the commodity markets based upon an influence on the other side of the world. And they hit those benchmarks. They were able to accurately predict what would happen in those markets because they're looking at the whole world and everything that's happening in it. This is just a simple representation of the data gathering that's going on within SWS. It's called the SEAS program also. But this is just feeding into D-Wave, basically, the graphic. Again, data collection points all around the world. And there's my Europe. This formula actually, when it was computed, came out about 600. Let me just put it this way. It was off by 600. This is the formula for the Higgs boson, God particle. This came out in the Simpsons years before CERN ever, quote, discovered with a 90% probability of accuracy the Higgs boson. It's interesting. At the bottom, those are not donuts. Those are the toroidal fields. So I'm going to wrap all these things together here in just a moment. But my good friend Kev Baker did this to me. It's actually called the Bose-Einstein condensate, but without going into that, Kev Baker is a good friend of mine. He's on Truth Frequency Radio. I have Richie from Boston is here, one of my new best friends. Has a great show. Those are my 3 books. I'm going to wrap this thing up very quickly with some comments without the graphics. Okay, we got a particle accelerator that wants to open a portal. It's spawned laboratories all over the world that are involved in DNA research. They are trying to create a new race of beings. They've been terraforming the planet with chemtrails and with earthquakes and volcanic activity directly tied to CERN, as I said, to the magnets and to the synchrotron energies produced at CERN. They have the control mechanism through D-Wave with their adiabatic quantum computers, now at the 8196 level. They have the components. They can change us, and they can change our world. And that's not for the better. Imagine for a moment if you took all of this brain power, all of this technology, all of this money, and you put it into benevolent pursuits.
Right.
What this planet and what this race would be like. But that's not Lucifer's agenda. His agenda is to kill God and to kill God's angels. I've just shown you very briefly, just scratched the surface of what is going on in this reality. I try to express joy in this, and when we talk, one-on-one, it's a little more fun. It's a little difficult for me to stand in front of a group and do this presentation because it's sobering information. And I don't mean to scare anybody, but use this, as I said in the beginning, as factual evidence that you can give to someone who at least has a kernel of an open mind. and is willing to listen to what's going on in science and realize that the science is what is literally killing us and killing the planet. It's no longer hidden. You see it in the movies, you see it in television programs, you see it in commercials. You all have the Holy Spirit, you all have that discernment. You see these things in the mainstream media, and you understand what you're seeing as demonic, as Luciferian, and they don't hide it from us anymore. And when you have CERN openly talking about opening a portal, you really have to take that to heart and realize that they're serious. And they will achieve it. And Revelation 9 says they will be successful. So now is the time to talk to people, as we've been commanded, to save those souls. I have a few minutes left if you want to throw some questions in. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
When you say that they are altering our reality, these technologies, are you referring to just the chemtrails and their earthquakes and volcanoes, or what are you referring to when you say they're altering our reality?
What am I referring to when I say altering reality? Psychologically is one example. This whole thing about the Mandela effect, for 6 months I get away from it. Okay? But then I had to really take a hard look at it and say, why would these things be happening based upon how I perceive things in science? And I realized it was just another psychological operation. It was even deeper. As I said, it was the D-Wave computers allowing information to come through, and that information is altering our reality. So to be a little more elaborate about my response, going back to the tetrahedron, if you accept my model of the universe being composed of replicating tetrahedrons, each tetrahedron represents a dimension. Even Gordy Rose, in his reference to parallel dimensions, said that they're identical, except when they use quantum tunneling from the qubits to enter and extract resources, that modifies that dimension. The parallel dimensions that he's accessing are different than what I'm describing in shape. If you look at a triangle, that does not have any parallel lines to it. What has parallel lines that I've shown you here that they worship? The black cube. So parallel dimensions is misleading. But dimensions are identical as they replicate. And therefore, when they access a dimension, they're getting energy and information, digital information, and digital information will come through the portal at CERN as well. Digitized DNA will come through, as well as energy. They are altering our reality through that quantum pollution, as I described it. What is entering from other dimensions is affecting this dimension, this realm. And we're just seeing the hints of it in these little, I almost hate to even bring up Mandela effect, but that is something that you see that's happening, but it's also physically changing the planet.
These computers
Sure.
are increasing their power
Yes, sir.
capability exponentially.
Yes.
At what point will they, or have they already, the computers totally taken over the growth of the program? Because there's no human brain can't compare.
In other words, in the growth of the model numbers and the advancing of the number of qubits, when did they, I'm sort of paraphrasing, when did they achieve immortality, I think is what they're
When
asking.
did the computer,
Or, excuse me, AI.
the computer take over the direction of the program? Because I don't think there's Einstein and a bunch of you
Sure.
figure out what to do with this.
Yeah, so did the computer, is what you're saying, take over at some point in the advancement of these? Well, in August of 2015, the 1024 model was produced. In 2010, they said in 2015 they would release the first artificially intelligent model computer. They failed to cite that in August of last year. But it is artificially intelligent. Has it taken over and achieved its own direction? Is it now running things independent of the human influence? No, not at this point. Yes, sir.
You have this car. How does that tie into
The what?
car?
Oh, HARP. Okay, how does HARP tie into this? HARP is a weather modification system, but what it's doing is it's actually causing the earthquakes in conjunction with CERN when it is activated. One of the telltale signs, besides modifying and steering the weather around the planet, and there are multiple HARP locations around the planet, if you see an earthquake that has a depth of 10 kilometers, that's a HARP signature. This is Tesla's earthquake machine.
Okay, guys, that's all I've got for you for today. This was a 2-hour plus video conference that I recorded, and somehow I lost well over an hour of it. And so didn't the producers or the directors of the Watchmen's conference. They also lost all of their live stream. So today is Saturday, October 1st. Tomorrow, October 2nd, Anthony Patch will be redoing this entire thing. I will be recording it, as well as the Watchmen's conference will also be live streaming it. And for all those that couldn't make it down here to Knoxville, you can get a you can get a virtual live stream ticket and watch Pastor Paul Begley, L.A. Marzulli, Russ Dizdar, John B. Wells, Josh Tolley, all these guys live streaming right here on the Hear the Watchmen's conference live stream ticket, which is still available right now. But I'm going to put this video up, and I'll also be putting up another video as well tomorrow on Anthony Patch and all the one-on-one interviews that I'm able to get. So at any rate, Brother Ken, Richie from Boston, we are in Knoxville with Anthony Patch. And again, you guys can get the virtual reality ticket where you can watch everything that we're seeing here without having to do the 15-hour drive like I did. All right, guys, Richie from Boston. Please like, share, and subscribe. And remember, if this information wasn't real, they wouldn't be knocking us out of the box. And they are. Richie from Boston, guys. I'm out.